All right, welcome everybody to the Owatonna Wrestling Weekly Podcast. I'm Coach Derek Johnson, and with me this week is Coach Griffin Thorn, joining me on the podcast. And we're gonna delve into his life story and all the ups and downs, and get a rugby update and everything like that. But first, we're gonna thank our sponsor, the Flemke Insurance Agency. Thank you, Ben Flemke, and his entire staff and what they do to support the Owatonna Wrestling Association and this podcast. And and what they do for their customers is basically they're the sports agent that shops their client around and tries to get the best possible deal for them, home, auto, commercial, all of that. Thank you to Flemke Insurance Agency. Well, we have a high school-ish update for wrestling results this week. In Spokane, Washington, 3 of our girls, Isabel Townley, Aaliyah Fisher, and Kayla Pastica, were all out there competing for a spot on the world team for freestyle and Greco, or maybe it was just freestyle. And so Isabel Townley, she's a junior, and she had a tough draw. She went 0-2, but against freshmen in college, so got kind of that rude awakening of going against grown adults. But nonetheless, very encouraged. She can see kind of her path. If for those of you who aren't familiar, freestyle is the style that college girls wrestling is. It's not folk style like the boys' side. So it's good for her to really start preparing for that type of competition, because really what they're looking to do is kind of springboard that into world and Olympic type of preparation. So that's why they do it at the girls' collegiate level. And then our 8th grader, Aaliyah Fisher, who took 5th in state for folk style, she went 0-1. She's been having some really nasty ankle problems all the way back to sections or just before sections. And so, she injury defaulted. Coach Hovden was saying, who was out there with the team, was saying that honestly she probably would have placed top 4, which would have put her on that team, kind of judging by the field and how everyone else did. So pretty bittersweet, but she's only an 8th grader. Plenty of opportunities there, a lot more shots she can take. And then another 8th grader, Kayla Pastica, in her 2nd ever freestyle tournament was World Team Trials. And so she took 7th. She went 2-2. And kind of the theme that I got from feedback from Coach Hovden was that, we just need to get a little stronger, honestly, which we keep talking about on the podcast, which we talked about all season. So kind of the similar thing there. But congratulations. That's a cool opportunity for these girls to go out there, compete to try to be on the team. But man, the experience of traveling, let alone the experience of a crazy, serious tournament like that, is pretty invaluable. So thank you to the Owatonna Wrestling Association for some anonymous donations that basically negated their travel costs too. That was cool and gave that opportunity, and we never want to just flat out burden families or anything like that. I'm sure there's some in the building, so I'm just going to say it really loudly. We're not hockey, who makes you pay tens of thousands of dollars just for the opportunity to enjoy the sport. So so that was a cool thing. And then also, I'm going to say this once and then again at the end of the podcast, this upcoming Sunday is our Owatonna Wrestling Banquet. That's our high school and middle school banquet at the Owatonna Eagles at 5:30 is when social hour starts. It's open to the public. All wrestlers and managers get in for free. Otherwise, it's $15 at the door. We do treat it like a fundraiser. Full-blown taco bar this year, and just a great opportunity in general to kind of get an update. We give the rundown, we celebrate this community, and we want to thank everyone involved. And please, Owatonna Eagles this upcoming Sunday, the 21st, Owatonna Wrestling Banquet. So, Coach Thorn, first year back in the program in an official coaching capacity. First off, I'll just ask that. I know you're an Owatonna Wrestling alum, but before we get into your career, how was your experience this year coaching? Kind of getting your feet wet.
It was an eye-opener. As much as you teach the kids, you kind of learn a lot more from them just in life skills and getting into, your adolescence and seeing how you might have been as a high school kid and then getting used to that whole thing. But I had a great time coaching all the way through. Unfortunately, work kind of gets in the way of some things sometimes and can't always be there when you want to be, but I had a great experience and I wouldn't take nothing back.
Yeah, so you're another one of our, right in kind of the same weight class. We have a couple of coaches that wrestle live with the kids, and you're one of them, and obviously in just great shape still. So what was that like, kind of going at it again and pushing yourself and, kind of that Fight Club feeling?
You can be in rugby shape, you can be in weightlifting shape, but there's nothing like getting into wrestling shape.
Yeah. Yeah, and taking those heart attack breaks.
And, a couple of heart attack breaks,
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is that's the only way you do it. That's like you stated, man. You can run, you can bike, you can do all that stuff, but the second you do shark bait, a couple minutes in, you're toast.
Couple minutes. We're talking 45 seconds.
You held your own. You tapped me in once, but honestly, no, and also it's so great because especially we had some inexperienced wrestlers in kind of the upper weights, so it was great for someone like you, someone like Coach Sorensen, Flatland to be involved, kind of helping shape those kids, because a lot of people don't know that. Like, you hear the names Fitcher, Flemke, Lauer, guys like that, and they're not like new to the sport, but enough to where, they're sponges. They love to learn and everything like that. So was there like a moment or two that kind of stood out this year that was, really impactful or eye-opening or anything like that?
I guess every time I came to, whether it was a meet or whether time it was a time I got to come into the practice room and, see the kids progress from, just from the beginning of the season until the end of it, and watching them progress, and then really having them take in and apply some of the things that you teach them, or some of the things I teach them, or just seeing how you teach them something, and then they go out and use it, and then it works, and then they're happy that they got a takedown, or happy that they were able to scramble from that position and take control and take advantage of any situation they're put in from something that you gave them. I think.
Yeah. No, and I love that. I loved your approach. Without even asking, you just fit in right away, coming from our first competition in Woodbury, where you had basically taken notes, sent me those notes, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I forgot to ask you for that, and you already were on it. So your mindset was already there, talking about like, that attention to detail, and I love the way you geek out about technique. The same way a lot of our staff does too. It's like, it's the martial art of it. That's the fun part, and kind of doing that problem solving and everything. So, so personally for me, it's also extremely fun because I remember little tiny baby Griffin Thorn way back when on like youth dual teams, and hopped in one of the Castile years when you were wrestling and stuff. So take us through a little bit. Like, when did you start wrestling?
I probably started wrestling like kindergarten, but wrestling on the playground, wrestling with my cousins, that's always been a natural thing. But I kind of struggled up until I was probably in 4th or 5th grade, and then I started getting a lot better at wrestling because I had coaches like you and coaches like Hovden and Sorensen kind of take me under their wing and show me more, give me more time and kind of work with me a lot more. And that's something that I appreciate even today, and I'm grateful for today, because a lot of those lessons you don't realize it when you're a little kid, but a lot of them you take into adulthood and take into the the business world, and it's just kind of just doing the things you don't want to do sometimes, and then just being grateful.
Yeah, kind of that Dan Gable, once you wrestle, everything else in life is easy type of thing.
I'd like to think so, but there's still some hard things here and there.
Right, yeah, exactly. So how did, where you said you started ramping up kind of late elementary school, how did like middle school go for you?
Middle school was good. I mean, I was pretty dominant, like in the junior high program, and then I got to see the ninth grade and some JV matches throughout the year and stuff. And then, I mean, we'd travel around the country going to tournaments from the A6 Nationals, and then on some of the middle school duals teams and that sort of thing. And I mean, I showed some progress. I got third place at a national tournament at I don't know, was it like Utah or Tulsa, Oklahoma or something?
Tulsa.
One of those tournaments.
Yeah. So was that folk style, freestyle, Greco?
Yeah, that was folk style.
Folk style. Okay.
And then I was on the duals teams for folk style, because it'd be like a whole week thing, and it'd pretty much be freestyle, Greco, folk style, or whatever the order is. But
yeah,
it'd be a whole long tournament with duals teams, and you'd wrestle, I don't know, like 20 matches throughout the course of the week.
Right. What was your favorite style of the three?
Honestly, it was probably jiu-jitsu, if I have to say that.
Right.
But I enjoyed folk style a lot. Freestyle, the rules just changed so much, and it was crazy even to come in this year and then go and watch college and then see just all the rules that have changed, because a lot of the stuff where you're bringing wrestlers back down to the mat from the stand-up, when you go into a stand-up, then you mat return.
Yeah.
Just seeing how that has changed and how some of the more aggressive elements that we had back in the day have kind of been toned down a little bit, but now it's just working it towards this different progression that they're going with in the advancement of the sport. And that was really cool to see too.
Yeah, it's slight changes both in kind of the general technique tree. You know, I'm sure when you were going through, funk had finally kind of picked up, and, you know, a lot of counterattacks on your feet and everything like that. But nonetheless, I think that's even progressed quite a bit, even in the last 10 years. So I do like that element of the sport. It felt like for 30 years it was pretty stagnant, and now it's like extremely innovative, and especially with, you know, the advent of like the internet. You can YouTube how people are wrestling in New York versus, you know, some stuff in California and stuff.
You can spend all your time on flow wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Whereas before we had like Colat and stuff like that on YouTube, and flow wrestling was nowhere near where it has come today. And a lot of the funk that I sort of got came from like jiu-jitsu and going to these other martial arts and that sort of thing, because it's always good to, you know, be students of the other ones as well, because they're all sort of martial arts, you know.
Where did you go for that? Did you go to Clark up in South
I went to American Top Team over in Savage, and then I went to a 10th Planet, they call it, over in Egan.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So did you compete?
I did compete in some like jiu-jitsu and non-striking stuff, because I was still underage at the time, but I went to a couple Naga competitions and then did pretty well. I think I got second in regionals, and a lot of times it'd be harder to find other opponents in that, because this was over 10 years ago already now, and it's growing in popularity way more now. I mean, no offense to the kids that were doing it, but back then it seemed to be like a lot of the kids were like doing Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of thing. No, nothing wrong with Dungeons and Dragons or that thing, but it's just more, it wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot of competition like you see in wrestling, where it's like dominant, aggressive individuals.
Yeah. So at that age, talking about like underage jiu-jitsu, I imagine, is there a scoring system, or is it submission based?
I have no idea. I go for the submission every time.
Okay, so they do let you go for submissions and that. Like, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that would, you know, no contact, and I wasn't sure if they really dialed it back for kids, like to the point of no submission, and it was just scoring. But yeah, like passing guard or whatever. But no, that's, and I knew a little bit about that. Because when I hopped back in with Castile, you talked about, you know, how you're doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So, yeah, that, you know, besides the tendency to go to your back willingly, not a great habit, but as far as like ankles and wrists and everything like that, I mean, that's
You'll
invaluable.
definitely not want a guy to be on top of you.
Right.
That's one of the greatest things I learned. My stand-up got so much better. and like being in referee's position and that sort of thing got 100% better just because you're like all summer you're getting if somebody's on your back
They're getting choked.
You're getting choked.
Yeah,
so
yep.
That was one of the benefits I got out of it.
That's that's a good motivating factor.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Kerry Colat's dad used to tase him if he wasn't able to get out from underneath. And watching Kerry Colat talk about that, he's like, no one held me down ever again. Well, yeah, because you're getting tased by your father. So I assume that fear of getting choked out just puts you in a different gear entirely. So
Yeah.
That's good. Nice. So then high school, how'd you do there? How'd your career go?
I just had a little bit of varsity my 9th grade year, and then I did pretty good over it, like in the JV division at Fargo, and then I think I wrestled some really good kids. Like there's the Dick Shields Open. I wrestled varsity at that because that year I think we won state for football. So a lot of the football players that were playing in state, they weren't wrestling yet, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
Wrestled a few good kids. I got spladled by a kid from Albert Lee. It's Dayton Racer.
Oh.
He was a pretty good kid.
Yeah.
I knew he was a senior. I was a little freshman. He just
at what weight class?
Handled me. Probably 152.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
yeah,
then,
you weren't small, so.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, I wasn't small.
Right.
And then sophomore, junior, and senior year, I just wrestled on varsity and got better throughout the years. Then my junior and senior year, I was ranked high in the state. Unfortunately, I didn't quite make it to place, but I wrestled a lot of good competition. And then a lot of the kids that I was wrestling and training with all those years ended up, we had Brandon Moen, Cade King, Peyton Robb. Those kids all ended up going Division I. Landon Johnson was even on my team. And just being in the room with guys like that, you kind of understand kind of what it takes to win and what separates, top tier talent from the rest, and it kind of sets a tone and ethos that you kind of have to live by too, if you want to make it through a season with them.
Yeah. So what was kind of your best placing as a team when you were going through high school?
I think we got consolation champs one year, and then I think we got 5th place or something.
Okay, nice.
Unless those are the same, I'm not sure.
Yes, that is the same. Yeah,
okay.
fifth is consolation.
I think
champ.
we might have got 3rd and then consolation champs.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, I imagine it was you and Albert Lee pretty consistently in sections?
Well, Albert Lee was in they were in a different class. They got moved down to 2A.
Okay.
They got moved into Cassin's class.
Gotcha. Who was section finals every year for you guys? Or
us?
Who else were you going against? I know one year was weird. You had Hastings in your section, and
it'd pretty much be us, Hastings, or Northfield.
Okay,
and then
gotcha.
Faribault would Faribault's Faribault.
Yeah, I remember they kind of flamed out in the early 2010s again, and so
they were always able to bring it a couple good kids. Even some of the kids that we wrestled against are now I play on the same rugby team. And
okay.
The kids that I graduated with too. Trying to get them on to the rugby team.
Sure. Nice. Well, great. And so, family still in the area. What's your give everybody a rundown? Who's in your family?
I got Owen Thorn. He was a wrestler. He wrestled throughout high school and wrestled on varsity. He didn't make it to states, but he had a couple good teams or a couple good kids that he wrestled with, and he ended up going and wrestling for RCTC, and then he did pretty decent at RCTC, but it got to be a lot just of school work and trying to drive to Rochester and back from Owatonna and do that thing. Wrestling's tough when you start to be a college kid, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And your dad's doing well now?
Yeah, my dad had a heart attack back in January. But he's doing a lot better now. He's slowly getting back into 100% shape, trying to get him. He wasn't able to snowmobile this winter, as you could imagine, but there was no snow anyways, so he wasn't really missing out.
Right.
But we're back on the motorcycles and doing that. Have a couple motorcycle trips planned for the summer that I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Awesome. Well,
Then I have a little sister and a mom.
So yeah, what are their names?
Little sister's Emily, and my mom's name is Annie.
Okay, Tim and Annie, and then
And then we tried always to get my little sister to wrestle, but she wanted to play dance, and then the closest we got her to that is probably lacrosse.
Okay.
Lacrosse is a pretty tough sport.
Yeah, some full contact. All right. Nice. So, this was your first year back in coaching. I'd love having you there. I'm excited for the future to see where that goes. Hopefully you'll be back with us and everything. And I know you've been working on trying to get some buddies back too around your grade to help coach and everything like that. So I appreciate that as well. Because as you said, you understand the benchmark, you understand the work ethic, everything that's required to get to a certain level. That's why I like having you in there. That's why I like having Justin Sorensen in there, that understands the late 90s and 2000s similar culture and work ethic, and same with Scala. So I think that's incredibly important, and I love how the kids take to you. You strike that good balance between seriousness, but also joking around and keeping it light, because hey, it's the hardest sport to train for, and it can't all be crazy. So I love that too. So excited to see where that takes you. Well, any shout outs you want to make here before we kind of get going?
I don't got much to shout out other than Faribault Box Springs. Come and support them some Saturdays. You can catch them on Facebook, Instagram. It's the rugby team.
Okay. Nice. And get more black eyes and everything like that. So
I try not to, but it's a rough sport.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it is. Nice. Well, and I'm going to reiterate this upcoming Sunday, April 21st, the Owatonna Wrestling Banquet. Once again, open to the public, $15 at the door, full taco bar spread, everything. It's kind of all you can eat, quite honestly. We always overorder. And come support the wrestlers. It's a good time, and we're enjoying the spring. We have a few more weeks yet to have some more alumni on the podcast. We go through April, just letting you know. So by the end of April, then we kind of see you next fall. So thanks again to the Flemke Insurance Agency for all you do, for supporting this podcast, for making the world go round, and not just for us, but for your customers. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.